friends, it's Alexa from Alexa Loves Books, and I'm finally back with another video. Today is going to be, by the time you guys see this video, the 2nd of August, and I thought it would be the perfect time to wrap up the rest of my July reading. So in the second half of July, a lot of different things happened in my life, and it was a bit crazy, but I still managed to get some reading done, which I'm very excited about, and so I'm going to be sharing all of the books that I read for the second half of July in this video today. Oh, you may have noticed a slightly different background. It's because we have house guests in this week and I don't want to disrupt their stay, so I am in my room. The first 3 things that I read in the second half of July were all a part of the same series, and that is the Harper Hall trilogy by Anne McCaffrey. And this series was recommended to me by my friend Rachel of Hello Charlie, and I read it as part of our Flights of Fantasy challenge this year. So the first book is called Dragon Song, and it's about a girl named Minoli, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is basically very different from all of her clan. She ends up with 9 fire lizards of her very own, and I think it's a very like old school fantasy in a way, because the way that the story plays out is very like, it's a bit slower than usual, and there's a lot of like dense writing, but I really enjoyed it. I give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Minoli's story continues in Dragon Singer. Not to spoil the first book, but in this book, her circumstances have changed slightly, and it's all about what happened after the end of the first book. So that's going to sound really vague, but I really enjoyed this one. I flew through it. I was so excited to discover what would become of Minoli, and I ended up giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And the very last book in the series is called Dragon Drums, and it actually follows a completely different character, which I was so prepared for, so it didn't really bother me as much as you'd think it would. It's a character that Minoli meets in the second book and becomes friends with, and I think it was just really fun to follow on that person's journey. And I enjoyed this way more than I thought I would, considering it's a different main character, and I ended up giving it a 4.25 out of 5 stars. Harper Hall trilogy was really good. It was so great to binge read, and I would definitely recommend them. The next book that I ended up reading in the second half of July was The Comeback Season by Jennifer E. Smith, and this is the story of a girl named Ryan who is dealing with the grief of losing her dad. She's also dealing with everything that happens when you transition into a new part of your life. She's a freshman in high school, and the one thing that she has going for her is baseball, and it's through baseball that she meets a boy named Nick. And he has a secret, and Ryan eventually finds out what that secret is. But yeah, the story is just, once again, it's one of those Jennifer E. Smith style stories, which is pretty quiet, but also very powerful and moving in its way. And I really love this one. I wasn't expecting to love it that much because I'm not a big baseball person. Sadly, I'm sorry to all my baseball loving friends, but I'm not. But I did. I really ended up enjoying it, and I gave it a 4.25 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I read was a manga, and it is Volume 1 of the Sailor Moon manga, which is by Naoko Takeuchi. And I had totally forgotten that this one covers a lot of the beginning of season 1 in the anime, which I really liked. It's basically the one that introduces you to most of the Sailor Scouts and to Tuxedo Mask, and I really enjoyed it. I liked, seeing how it parallels with the anime, which is what I'm more like, which is what comes to mind a lot easier for me. And yeah, it's just really fun. The illustrations are really great, and I love being back in this world with these characters. So yeah, really enjoyed this one, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is one that I got for review, and that book is The Gilded Cage by Lucinda Gray. This is basically about a girl named Catherine, and she and her brother find their fortunes have changed, and so they go from the US to living in England, and they're supposed to be like the rulers of this particular estate, but then her brother is killed. Catherine doesn't believe that it was an accident or it was a suicide. She thinks it's a murder, and so she sets about investigating it. And there are a lot of things that happen in this book, and yes, it was pretty atmospheric all in all, but I just was not very impressed with this story. I don't know, I just found it fairly predictable and also slightly over the top in some ways. So I ended up giving this one a 1.5 out of 5 stars. And the last 3 books that I read during the month of July were all rereads, and they were all really incredible rereads, and those were the last 3 books in the Harry Potter series. So it's Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, which I used to say was my least favorite of my favorites, which is like basically to say that it's still like a wonderful over-the-top 5-star over the 5 stars rating, but it was the lowest if I were gonna rank in the series. But that is not true anymore because I love this book so much. I don't know. Something just clicked with me and I absolutely adored it. And then the next one is obviously Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, which I got very emotional reading. This is the one where I actually cried or started crying reading it, and oh my god, so emotional. And Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which was incredible, and I also got emotional reading this one, which is to be expected. And obviously, if you were gonna ask me for my rating, they are like 5 billion stars out of 5 because nothing I've ever read really quite compares to this series, and revisiting it was just amazing. And I finished just in time for Harry's birthday and to start Cursed Child, which is so good so far. So there you have it, guys. Those are all the books that I read in the second half of July. I'm so glad I was able to finish my Harry Potter reread already and right before Cursed Child. And I'm so excited. Have you read any of the books that I mentioned in this video? Are you excited for any of the books that I mentioned in this video? Have you been rereading Harry Potter? Did you get your copy of The Cursed Child? I would love to know what you think if you've read it. No spoilers, please, because I'm not quite done and I don't want anyone else to get spoiled, so yeah. You can find all my other social media links below if you want to chat about books or anything else. And I will see you guys soon for another video. Bye!